In this video, we're going to look at graphing the ellipse. Remember, this is an ellipse, not an oval, so we're never going to say oval, we're going to say ellipse. So there's two types of ellipses. There's the horizontal and the vertical. Obviously, horizontal goes left and right, vertical goes up and down. The difference between the equations, though, is the denominator. If you'll notice, A and B switch spots. This is because A is always the bigger number. So depending on where A is, tells us whether it's vertical or horizontal. So if A, the bigger number is under X, it's horizontal. If the bigger number is under Y, it's vertical. This also helps us figure out these axes because we are no longer looking at these as the radius. They are a major and a minor axis. Major being the longer one, minor being the shorter one. So if I'm going to look at A on this ellipse, it's this little section, not the whole thing. That's why to find the major axis, it's 2A. B is the other section. So to find the whole minor axis, it's 2B to get the whole thing. Now we also have these special little points labeled with the F. Those are called foci. Now foci are measured with C. So the distance between the foci would be 2C. To figure out C, we use this equation. You'll have to memorize this one. It's similar to an equation you already know, Pythagorean theorem, but instead of plus, it's minus. Now, if we're going to figure out the actual foci points, you do it differently whether you're doing horizontal or vertical. If you're doing a horizontal ellipse, you take that center value, that H, and you add and subtract whatever you get for C to that X value, and then you leave Y alone. So that'll give you plus will give you one, minus will give you the other. Same thing for vertical, but instead of doing it to H, you do it to K because you're on vertical, the Y value. So leave H alone, take your Y value, and add and subtract C. And that'll give you where the foci point is. So let's look at actually doing it now. Let's graph one of these. So the first step when graphing an ellipse is to decide whether it's horizontal or vertical. So I have to look at where that bigger number is. On this one, the bigger number is under Y. That means it's vertical. Now let's solve for all of our variables to help us input all of our information. So I'm going to figure out A, B, and C. So A is the bigger number, but I'm not going to put 25 because this is technically A squared, which would make A the square root of it, so 5. Same thing here, so B would be 3. Now we're going to use that Pythagorean theorem type equation to solve for C. So since this is already C, I need a square root because it's not squared anymore. And I'm going to take A squared, so 25, minus B squared, 9. That gives me the square root of 16, so I know that C is 4. Now that I know all this, I should be able to fill all of this information in. We get the center from the equation, pull out H and K, make them the opposite. So that'll be -4, +3. And then use these numbers to get your foci points. So my focus point was the C value, the 4. So this is what I'm adding and subtracting. Remember, it's a vertical ellipse, which means you're adding and subtracting to the Y value because your Y value is what's vertical. So I'm going to leave my X alone. And first, let's add it. 4 plus 3 is 7. To get the other one, leave X alone. 3 minus 4 is -1. So these are our two foci points. It doesn't matter which one you write first because you're just going to graph it anyways. The major axis, remember, is 2A. Minor axis is 2B. Good thing we know what A and B are. So this will be 10 and 6. Let's graph. So first I'm going to go in and plot my center. So I got -4, 3. Now I'm going to do my major axis. My major axis is vertical. It has to be the longest side up and down. So I'm going to go up 5 and down 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Minor axis is left and right 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'll draw my ellipse. And then the last thing I need to plot are my foci. So -4, 7, and -4, -1. And we're done. If you want to draw in your axis, you totally can. That's really a good time. So there we go. Let's try another one. Okay, number 2. First decide vertical or horizontal. Let's look at where the bigger number is. She's under X, so that means horizontal. Now it's time for us to figure out A, B, and C. So let's see. A, B, C. Remember, we're doing the square root of each of these, so it's actually 3 and 2. Now to solve for C, 3 squared is 9, minus 2 squared is 4. That's the square root of 5. Now 5 isn't square rootable, and you will not have a calculator on this. So in your foci point, you can leave like an equation like plus minus square root of 5. But since we have to graph it, I am going to go ahead and tell you that the square root of 5 is about 2.2. So that's what I'm going to use here. But just know on any quiz or test, I'll give you a number that's square rootable. So you can actually figure out that point without a calculator. Okay, so the center, there's nothing with X. So that'll be 0. And then -2 for Y. For my foci point, so I'm doing this 2.2 stuff. It's horizontal, so I'm doing it to the X value, which is nice because I'm just adding and subtracting this to 0. So if I add it, that's 2.2, leave the -2. If I subtract it, it's -2.2, leave the -2. Remember, we did it to the X value because it was horizontal. Major axis, so 2 of these. Minor axis, 2 of these. We're ready to graph. All right, my center, 0, -2. My major axis is horizontal, so I'm going left and right 3. Minor axis is up and down 2. I'll draw the ellipse. And now I'm going to throw in my foci. So 2.2, -2, -2.2, -2. And then I'm going to draw in my lines. Yay! Go ahead and try the third one yourself. Pause this video and see what you can do. And then we'll check our answers together. So go ahead and click pause. Pause. Oh, did you pause it? Don't lie. Okay, welcome back. Let's check our answers for number 3. So the first thing, you should have decided that this was vertical. And then you solve for A, B, and C. A was 5, B was 2. So you did the square root of 25 minus 4. You got the square root of 21, which I don't know what that is, and I wasn't prepared with an answer, so let me look it up. That's 4.6. Cute. And now we're going to fill in our information here. So your center was 1, 3. We're adding and subtracting 4.6 to the Y value. So leave the 1, that's 7.6. Leave the 1, that's negative 1.6. Major axis is 10, minor axis is 4, and then you're ready to graph. Did you get that right? Good job. 1, 3. Let's see. I'm going up and down the big one because it's vertical. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, it's a skinny girl. Okay. Foci is at 7.6 and 1.6. And I'll go ahead and draw my axes. Cutie. Okay. Last thing, I think, let me look. Oh, yeah. Let's check how to write an equation. So now let's think about this. All we need for the equations are center, A, and B. That's all I have to figure out. Aside from the fact whether it's vertical or horizontal, to know where to put the bigger numbers, you just need center, A, and B. So this graph is just really great. A lot of dark lines to help us see. So I'm going to just kind of sketch the cross here. Now first I'm going to note that this is obviously vertical. A is the longer section, B will be the shorter section. So from -1 to 2 it looks like. So 1, 2, 3 is A. And then B will just be 1, 2. And the last thing I need is my center. So that's -3, -1. So now we're gonna go ahead and write our equation. So I'm gonna start with X. That'll be +3. Don't forget it's squared. It's gonna be over something, but I'll save her for later. Plus Y plus 1 squared over something. And for ellipse, it always equals 1, no matter what. Now this is vertical, so that means A is under Y. So 3 squared is 9, 2 squared is 4. And there's our equation. Let's try it again for this guy. So I have a horizontal dude here. Okay, this one's a little easier to see, but I will still draw my little X, the cross. So A, B. So the longer section, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. B is 1, 2, 3. The center is at 2, -1. So we'll plug those into our equation. X minus 2 squared over something plus Y, we'll say plus 1 squared over something, always equals 1. It's horizontal, so my bigger number will go under X. 6 squared is 36. 3 squared is 9. And we're donesies. Okay, now here's where things get weird. Your homework for this section is sister messed up. So go ahead real quick, pause the video so you can change the numbers on 1 through 3. I wanted to make them square rootable, obviously, or else you would have had a really fun time. Okay, 4 is good, just cross out 5 and 6. And then you're writing the equation for 7 and 8. All right, have a good time. Bye.